Hi, I'm Alex Woods. I'm part of Phantom Media's election coverage into the student union elections. I'm here today with Owen Marques. Hey, Owen, how are you?
Hi. I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. So, for the people
Great.
that do not know, can you just tell us who you are and what role you're running for?
Yeah, so I'm Owen Marques and I'm running for VP Welfare.
What drew you to the particular role?
Well, particularly, it was, I think, a lot to do with what's gone down this year. There has been obviously so much going on that it's so difficult to keep track of. But one of the things that, especially in my role currently as part-time officer for human sciences, is the fact that mental health has been so prevalent, like amongst our studies and everything, that it's easily affecting everyone. And it's something that I'm relatively passionate about, like with myself, having gone through a lot. Um, so it's definitely resonated with me, and I want to sort of move forward in a direction that's going to sort of not so much distract us from the year that's gone on. Can't just ignore that, but more so grow from it. Sort of going in the right direction with it, and yeah, develop from that.
Brilliant. What is, if you were obviously to succeed, what's the primary aim?
Primary aim for me is just to make sure that the support is there for every student possible. Obviously, going on for diversity and inclusivity, it needs to all be accounted for. It's just making sure that even the students that obviously when it comes to terms with mental health and things like that, it is very difficult to even take that first step. And I want to make sure that the support there for students is easily accessible and that everyone feels a part of the community as a whole. And when I say the community, like part of the University of Derby and finds their place. I think that is possibly like one of the most important things for anyone who's starting out and anyone who's trying to find their way through university.
I couldn't agree more. I think yeah, it's really good. Really, really good. What is your particular perception of the Union of Students right now?
Right now, I think it's been immensely like helpful for all the students right now. Obviously, having to develop all of these actions in such pressing times, especially when rules are changing like so often, it's so hard to keep track of it. And honestly, I can't commend the union enough for the amount of work that they put through, keeping up with everything and making sure that students are getting the support that they need. Obviously, it has been like a massive issue for them to tackle, and I don't think there was a perfect way for them to do it. But honestly, you can't fault them for the challenges that they've been presented with. So definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. Is there anything in particular you would change? I've got a couple of questions that were a little bit more situational later on about changes, but
Yeah.
is there anything that you would change about the Union of Students right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, it's a difficult one to be fair, because as I say, like the union as a whole, I think they've done so well, and in previous years as well, they've done so well. So I don't know where I could really fault them in a point where they could essentially do better, but I guess it's just to continue it because again, I think that all the people that have been elected previously have done such good jobs that it's just more so carrying on that mantle and ensuring that the current state is sort of carried out throughout the years, which is honestly more than we can ask for.
Well, the next couple of them are kind of job interviewee ones that you would get at a standard job interview, and do that. So again, these are the next couple that we're going to have. So the next one realistically is, how do you solve problems in a professional setting? How is it that you solve problems?
In a professional setting, although I think there's many ways to approach this. It's obviously having a lot of compassion, depending on the situation. Obviously, I think compassion does play a lot into this particular role, especially for welfare. Is understanding like the ground of which both parties are coming from, assuming that there are two parties involved in this, and essentially trying to diffuse situations, things like that. I don't think having someone that isn't so much as level-headed is the best way to go around it. Obviously, having that level-headedness and and compassion towards every sort of situation, I think that plays a massive part towards being able to deal with situations like that.
And it is fair to say that if you were elected VP Welfare, there is a lot of publicity. There is a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
Like your face is literally plastered everywhere. There's there are giant billboards that rotate with your face all over it. Every social media post has that one particular headshot. And if you're lucky enough, you might get a widely four-way group photoshopped image together in front of the university. You might get that as well. I've seen that floating around a little bit this year as well. So how would you personally deal with that kind of publicity? Because I know it's not for everyone.
It's not something that's so daunting to myself. I've been, as in obviously being part of the union already as a part-time officer. I have had to do quite a few social media posts, or more so informational posts for students that have gone around to like thousands of like first-year students. So a lot of people have already seen this face already. And also the fact that I work for the student ambassador, so that's part of the university. I guess they like my face enough to be plastering it around on social media for them. But yeah, I definitely think it comes a lot with my perceived confidence. I don't get discouraged by things like that. I do like to take on the challenge of, sort of putting myself out there, especially in areas that I'd probably feel most uncomfortable with. I think it's part of development really for myself, getting as much experience as I can really. So yeah.
Brilliant. These are where we get a little bit tougher, okay, Owen? This is where we get heavy hitting. All right, mate?
I'm ready.
Brilliant. So the current coronavirus or COVID-19 circumstances and their impacts upon students has left a lot of students highly concerned about not only their student experience, and they've been very critical about the university's response. What do you think the Union of Students should do in response to students having really big concerns about how the university has dealt with not only the COVID-19 situation, but obviously their experience as well?
Yeah, completely agree with the students. In all honesty, obviously they have a right to their obviously own opinions and everything. And obviously this year has been immensely challenging for everyone. And I think students have the right to voice that certain opinion, because it is something that is affecting so many students. So it is definitely at the forefront of it all. As for what the union can do, I think again it is very challenging, but I think it's more so having, I guess, more of a like forceful nature of it, because I think the university is only going to start listening until we actually start forcing things upon them, like making sure that everything that is being said is being heard and not just sort of brushed aside, because I feel like that's how many students, that's the opinion of many students right now, is that a lot of their concerns are being brushed aside, not at the fault of the union, I might add. I think it's more so just obviously having to communicate that across to the university, and obviously so much experience has been lost on this, and I think that students deserve that like compensation towards their studies. They've put in so much effort into it, especially with having to adapt to so much. It can't just simply be brushed aside.
Absolutely, of course, and we'll link that back to in particular the welfare VP welfare role and the role that you're currently running for. How would that role be able to support what you've just said there, and that making sure that students are fully heard and their voices aren't just pushed aside?
It's a good question. Definitely, I think it's more so taking like these conversations more to like the higher ends of, like, the dean of the university, and making sure that like there are constant conversations around these topics, and it's not just on about just conversations either, is that changes I think need to be sort of, I say forced upon them, but I don't think I can think of any better word for it, because in reality these things can't, as I said, just can't be brushed aside, and it can't just be left as a conversation. And acting as though these aren't affecting real people, real students, and their real life experiences with this. Like once they graduate, obviously students are very concerned with that. And creating those sort of safe spaces for students to even like come to me. I want to be that sort of person where they can just easily just come up to me, talk to me whenever. I hope that's going to make the change that they want to see. Because I do take that to heart with everything that every student has like ever mentioned to me with being a student rep and a part-time officer, is that I do take it like with like every fiber of my body sort of thing to try and like combat it. And because it resonates with myself, obviously being a student. So yeah, definitely making like those sort of steps to make like the impactful changes that need to sort of take place.
Brilliant. And what lessons can we learn from this year that we have been all virtual? There's been some lessons that have been in person, there's been some courses that have been in person, but what can we fully learn from this virtual year and take into next year? Both in a personal sense from you and a more professional one, if you were to be elected as VP Welfare.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I think many of us have learned throughout this year is the fact that community has been so strong within many of us, and like to sort of prevail past these sort of difficult times has shown how strong we can be with it all. A lot of students have obviously been struggling with so much, like including myself, close friends, things like that. And you sort of see this growth in students to sort of prevail past that, and it is immensely encouraging. So you can sort of see that despite these difficult challenges, is that students are actively making those changes to sort of not lose touch with community and with themselves really. But yeah, I think one of the main things that I think a lot of people agree with is the ease of access when it does come to online with certain meetings. I wouldn't necessarily encourage it for lectures unless obviously students can't make it to lectures, but we do have the University of Derby online for that. But yeah, I think that's been like things like this, doing interviews online and things like that. Has been immensely easy to access for people, and I think that can be implemented into well-being for students that maybe don't have the comfortability for accessing things on site. So with like therapy sessions, things like that, with counselling, I know that they have moved on to sort of an online approach with it, with over the phone and using Teams. So I definitely do think that it is a good approach to having it more accessible to students, with example like having Teams for students that don't want to essentially go out their way to on site, and if they can't access it. So it is beneficial in some ways, and you know, it's something that we can sort of take on to the following year.
Brilliant. Thank you very much